Every youth coach has heard it. Coach, my kids wants to play a striker, or winger, or centerman. And sometimes it's not even that the kid is asking, it's the parent. So how do we handle that? How do we respond with honesty, clarity, and professionalism without turning it into a power struggle? In this video, we'll break it into step by step. The first thing that you should do when a parent asks about position change is this. Ask why. Not in a defensive way, but genuinely. Why do they want this thing? Some reasons are valid. Number one is their kid has never tried a new position and wants to explore. This is very reasonable. If the players are very young, like 10 years old or younger, the coach should have rotated them anyway. You should want players to not be locked into one position. They will grow by rotating. As coaches, we must enable, not stunt their growth. Another valid reason is anything related to medical or safety. For example, I had a player that wanted to play as a goalkeeper. The parent reached out to me after the first game and told me that the kid has ADHD and playing as a goalkeeper will be detrimental for them, according to doctors. They didn't have a request for any particular other position, just not goalkeeper that is too static. Similarly, I had a player coming back from a wrist injury, so goalkeeper was not appropriate for several months. Number three is that the player doesn't seem to show improvement or engagement. This is a little bit harder to handle. It is up to both the coach and the parent to help the player be engaged. The real question here is why did this engagement happen? Is it interest in soccer overall? Is it something outside of soccer completely? Or is it really the position on the field that makes it harder? These are all very reasonable entry points for a conversation. But you'll get a vague and emotional reason sometimes. Things like, he just wants to score goals. Or she's not having fun as a defender. Or I think he's going to be better as an attacker. And when you hear that, your job is to gently raise the standard of the conversation. We expect our players to think critically, show accountability, and work hard. Why wouldn't we expect the same from parents? So when a parent says, I want them to score goals, a good reply might be, I'm not stopping them from scoring. What do you think is holding him back? Simple follow-up puts the responsibility back on development, on learning positions, movement, decision-making, not just the title of a striker. The expectation from a striker position is not to just score goals, but also to press with sprints and support their teammates with hold-up play. Does the player have any interest in doing these things? You can also say, tell me what you're hoping to learn from that position. That forces clarity. If the reason is purely emotional and superficial, it becomes obvious, without you having to say it. Let me digress here for a moment. Positions in other sports like basketball, volleyball, or American football are driven primarily by physical attributes. For example, in basketball, the shortest player is the point guard and the tallest player is the center. If a much taller player comes in, then they become the center and the previous center becomes more of a power forward. In soccer, that's not how things work, especially not in youth soccer. The key attribute for a goalkeeper is concentration. For a defender is grit. For midfielder is awareness, and for striker is composure. As you can see, none of them are physical attributes, but psychological. Yes, you can argue that there are some technical attributes can also be important, but a player that is great technically can excel in any position on the field. However, a great technical defender that is not natural fighter will simply let opponents score when things get tough. You can explain this to parents, but it doesn't matter very often. They can ask for their kid to play in a position to develop that mental attribute, and then you're in a conversation about working on weaknesses versus utilizing strengths and likely get nowhere. What you should ask here is why is the parent asking and not the player? If the player is 3 years old, it might make sense for the parent to do the interaction with the coach. But if it's 23, it doesn't. And what about those 20 years in between? Is the player too afraid, too shy, not interested enough? This is a growth opportunity. So as the parent, have you encouraged your child to come and talk to me themselves? Do you want them to learn how to advocate for themselves? Because isn't that what youth sports are for? Not just learning how to play, but learning how to speak up, solve problems, and have uncomfortable conversations. If we as coaches and parents keep solving problems for them, how will they develop the tools to do it alone? Then there's this point, and it's uncomfortable, but it's true. If a player struggles to follow team instructions in one position, they likely struggle with instructions in other parts of their lives too. Let's say a winger keeps drifting inside even when asked to stay wide. That's not just a positional issue. That's about listening, following through, and putting the team first. Parents often say that they want their kids to learn life lessons from sport. Well, this is one for them. Doing the hard things, doing the team things, even when it's not what you want. Being a defender, a holding mid, or even a backup striker will teach something valuable. Here's something parents don't always see. By always getting their own way, the kid may lose out later in life. If a player only ever plays one role because it's what they like and what the parent pushed for, what happens when a future coach doesn't offer that role? What happens when they join a new team and there's already a striker who's better? Do they sit on the bench because they can adapt? Do they get frustrated and quit because they never taught to be versatile? By helping kids grow outside of their comfort zone, we're not punishing them, we're preparing them. Now, this is very important. Youth soccer isn't just growth for kids, it's growth for parents and coaches too. We're all figuring things out, often for the first time. And there's fear, there's insecurity, uncertainty. A parent asking about position might come from a place of concern, love, or worry. They've entrusted you with their child, and that's a big deal. So ignoring them completely or dismissing their concern outright isn't right either. If the parent is reasonable, we owe them a thoughtful, respectful response. And even when parents cross the line, like getting pushy, aggressive, threatening to leave the team, we can still be clear without being confrontational, because clarity is kindness. So the next time a parent asks about a position change, which they will, take a breath, don't react, and ask why. Invite conversation. Ask them what their kid wants and why the kid isn't the one asking. Talk about growth, not goals, and about versatility, not just visibility. And remember, we're not just shaping players, we're shaping people. If this video helped you think differently about parent request, leave a comment below with your experience. And if you're a coach who's had this exact conversation on a sideline or at a tournament, tell us how it went. We're all learning together. And thank you for watching.